my God, he's going to go around the inside. He's going to send it. He's taking the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix on the last lap. Matt Turner takes the win in a remarkable race. We have teammates coming together. How devastating!
Hello everybody, welcome to round 4 of the IFL3 Championship. We are here at Emilia Circuit in Italy, and we are underway with our qualifying session here. I am joined today by Carlos Catao.
Hello everybody.
Carlos, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Just watching these drivers set up their first few round of quick laps. We have the usual names up there, you know, Tony Jimenez, Diego Kriegsman, who just got pipped by Jake Potts and Julie Redmond, and as I say that, he just goes back to P2. So you see, these guys are just putting in faster and faster times, trying to get the top spots.
Yep, we see right now at the bottom of our graphic there, Victor Barris doing a phenomenal job. Got a couple purple sectors here. Let's join him. Coming across the line, he should be improving on his time. 3 purple sectors, 2 greens, and yep, he does. 137.189. He is going to be the man to beat today. We are in Imola, a normally hot track, being in Italy, but today, let's take a look at our race info, our track info today for Imola. We have 76 degree track temperature, 81 degree track temperature, 76 degree air temperature, 37 degree of humidity, cloudy today, not too much to heat up the circuit. It'll stay fairly consistent throughout the session. 6 mile an hour winds. We're doing 32 laps today here in Imola, and the ups and downs of this track can prove to be quite the hassle, don't you think, Carlos?
Yeah, definitely. This track, it's got a lot of particularities, a lot of details, especially this last chicane where they were coming right there. That's an off track for sure. So you know, it's very easy to pick up off tracks there, and also you know, it's very easy to just get a bit of a jump going on the curb, and then your car just goes around. I found myself doing that yesterday quite a lot, so yeah, it's definitely tricky. And you know, the first sector as well, you gotta really attack those curves, but be mindful of the sausage curves on the inside. You know, it's tricky. It's got the particularities, and you won't do that well without practice.
Yep, yeah, we see these drivers in practice all week long, just lap after lap after lap. The how do I say, the limits of the track have been changed since the last couple seasons when we have raced here. The limits are a little tighter, so like you said, got to keep off those sausage curbs quite a bit. Got to, you know, watch so you're not getting off tracks. Like that one right there might have been close to an off track for Victor Barris. It's just going to be a tight race. We're going to keep a close eye on the incidents today, because the incidents could play a big factor if a car's pushing too much. We have a 16 incident limit before you get a drive-through penalty, so that normally is in this pit about 20 seconds worth of slowdown, so it can play a huge factor in the race and in the outcome. But right now, about halfway through our qualifying session, Victor Barris sitting on top, Tony Jimenez, his teammate, in second, Diego Krigman in third, Jake Potts in fourth, James Molaire in fifth, Julie Redmond in sixth, Frederick Larson in seventh, Joe Watts in eighth, Brandon Walker in ninth, and Danny O'Keefe in 10th. That rounds off the top 10.
Yeah, it seems like a really good, like, again, a tight field. excluding Victor Barris, who's back. He wasn't there last week. But from P2 to P11, it's a really tight field. Once again, it's like a second separate all of them. So, and you got a few 1000s there. Eli Cannon just 1000 behind Stuart Gibbons there. So it's a tight field all around.
Yep. If we go to our gap, we'll see our totals. So our farthest back being 7 seconds, but Frank Settle we know can do a little bit better of a time than that. Same for Hjalmar Ahlberg. Sean Roberts was up in the points last week. We know they got some more pace. They're probably just hitting some bad luck with those off tracks. So beautiful track. Imola is, as we see the blimp view here.
That's a nice shot.
Yeah, we get some of the scenic view here. Very very historic track. This is the unfortunate place where Ayrton Senna had died in a crash up against the straightaway. It was an impact that shook F1 for quite a long time. I think it even still to this day does show a huge impact on the safety of the sport and how much we've come to be a little bit safer in this sport. I know we're all esports and we're simulation, but real life, these guys have come a long way.
Yeah, and also a cool fact about this track, there's been a few well-known bands that played concerts here, like AC/DC and Guns N' Roses. Actually, that's probably a not very well-known fact, but yeah, that's something.
Yeah, I did not know that. That's pretty cool there. I wouldn't think that the track would be much of a concert hall, seeing as it's so spread out. A little over 3 miles here. Such a long track, high speed track, and it's just great historic track.
Yeah, and certainly the past years we haven't had like a Formula One race there from 2006 maybe, and it's great to see these new cars in Formula One like putting such a great show. So it's a track that still holds up to any racing standard. As you can see, like they're racing it in the 80s and 90s, and then come back with a completely different generation of cars, and the racing is still that good. Yep. So I'm interested to see what these F3 cars can do here in the simulator.
Yep. Yeah, we know real life F1, F2, F3 all race here. Like you said, it's withstood the test of time for keeping up the quality of racing. It's quite the track. I mean, you have historic tracks like Monza, the other one here in Italy, Spa. Have stood the test of time. Just Silverstone. Yeah, you have some really big names, and Imola I think sometimes gets forgotten in those list of names of historic tracks. It just really stand the test of time and continue to be a quality place to race.
Yeah, I personally prefer these tracks that are built around the scenery where they're located, instead of just terraforming a piece of land and then just building a racetrack there. I prefer these kind of tracks, like you mentioned, Monza, Spa, and Imola. Those types of tracks, I think, always provide the best, like the most interesting racing, and they are the more fun to drive. Yeah. As you can see, I mean, this track is pretty fun to drive around. There's lots of elevation changes, lots of interesting corners, and it's just a different type of circuit.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it covers such a big plot of land, like we saw there from the blimp view. It just is a huge track, and we got cars off here, but it's just a huge track. And like you said, the elevation changes here in Italy are huge. I mean, you go down into Acqua Minerale at a very steep angle. Braking becomes really difficult at that point, as we see them there on the left at Acqua Minerale. A bunch of cars trying to go down in there, and it's hard to accelerate up and out. And right there we
see there the flags for like a kind of small memorial for Ayrton Senna there at Tamburello. That's a pretty good shot as well.
Yep. Yeah, we we pay our respects to Ayrton Senna, one of the pioneers of F1. I don't think F1 would be what it is today without him. So, yeah,
certainly.
A big shout out to, Ayrton Senna and everything he's done. And like you said, just a pretty track, very scenic. It's built around all the scenery, and these drivers are just tearing it up here in Italy right now. Let's pop up our graphic again, and right now we have Victor Barris still up on top. We have a few more times coming in, 26 total times as of right now. Frank Settle rounding off the bottom. Victor Barris sitting up in first still. Tony Jimenez in second. Jake Potts jumps up to third, knocking Tieco Krigsman down into fourth. Frederick Larson getting up there into fifth, like we know he has been consistently in the top five. James Molaire up into sixth. Julie Redmond in the seventh. Luke Mitchell up in the eighth. Joe Watson ninth, and Brandon Walker rounding off the top 10. Let's try and get a fast lap here and try and do an onboard. And I'll have you take us through a lap here, Carlos. Let's see who we can find who's coming across. Let's see who we can find coming across the line. Looks like Dominic Herbert will be coming across here in a second. So let's ride on board with him.
Oh yeah, so here is, you're kind of braking and steering at the same time, and you brake at the hundreds, and then you're just flat out the left-hander. You can just really spin the car to make the corner. Here you can also, there's different ways to take the corner, but the left-hander you can just yank the car there and brake for the right-hander only. Here just keep your speed up, a little bit of maintenance throttle through the corner. Coming up the hill to Piratella, really interesting corner, but be careful on the outside. You can really get an off track there. We see he took it a bit careful here. And you got Piratella here, or sorry, Alcominol here. Very easy to get another one, another off track there. And then the chicane, the Variante Alta. It's very easy to also get some. To also spin here, did a really good job there to avoid the off track as well. But you really need to take those curbs, and you can get a bit of time there. And then the last two corners, just get a good exit towards the main straight, and that's it.
Yep, and he has a fairly good exit there. Like you said, using those curbs a little bit more is what gets you the time, but then you're right on that edge of getting time and getting off tracks and getting incident points built up. So we hope our drivers all stay safe and can get some laps down without getting incident points. But it's that fine line that you ride.
Yeah, definitely. Who was this driver, by the way? I couldn't catch it.
That was Dominic Herbert.
Oh, okay.
That we were following.
I'm actually curious to see how Victor Barris does, since he wasn't here last week. So, he's on pole, but just barely by 7,000. So, I'm curious to see how he does.
Yep, his teammate Tony Jimenez right behind him there. Jake Potts is half second back. Jacko Krigman 3/4 of a second back. So, our top, our top few guys here are really going to have to fight each other. I think teammates will be fighting in Victor Barris and Tony Jimenez. We heard it from Jimenez last week saying, that they will fight. They're not going to just let one person drive, but they're not going to fight to a point to where if one is clearly faster that they are going to be blocking each other and throwing it on the inside. I think they're well-rounded enough to know not to take each other out of a race.
Yeah, I think if I was them, they're half a second over, half a second clear of locking the front row. So, I mean, if I was them, I was just, they're surely talking through voice chat somewhere. So I would just give each other a tow, just pass each other on the main straight, which is certainly going to happen with a slipstream. And then just keep towing each other to be clear of the field, and then maybe fight it out on the last few laps. But at the start, you just need to get a get a that safety net, and they can certainly do that if they tow each other around the track.
Yeah, I definitely think that they can. Working together with a teammate is huge. It really gives you that advantage, especially if you start out front, and if you're in first and you have a teammate in second that can help you, kind of block, not necessarily block, but if somebody starts pulling up behind you, you have that little bit of a buffer, and your teammates got your back. They're not going to, throw it on the inside to try and get by. They're not going to, be doing anything to jeopardize, your race. Your teammate's going to try and protect you as best as possible from anybody that's behind. And as we see, a little bit of side by side here. We have
that's Danny O'Keefe and some of the Kudo guys, Joey Redmond.
Yep, Danny O'Keefe. We have Brandon Walker.
Oh, okay. And he just decides to kill himself, basically.
Ooh, something.
I don't know why he did that. Maybe his lap was ruined.
Maybe his wheel. He could have had something go wrong with his wheel because he just went straight into the wall, and he didn't reset right away, which normally leads me to believe that something happened.
Maybe
I know
that could have happened.
Back in Monza, we had an incident like that where it was actually me. I'm kind of ashamed to say it was me. My headset froze up and I crashed into a wall going down the back straight, and I crashed into the wall and just my car went flying into traffic. I ended up hitting Rob Slider and taking him out of the race, and we were battling for 4th place, going up into 3rd place, and it was devastating for me. It was devastating for Rob. So Rob, if you're out there, I apologize again for the headset incident, but these drivers are reliant on their equipment working, and if their equipment's not working and it's not giving them good feedback, or something like that happens where it locks up or freezes up, it can be a huge thing throughout the race. It only takes one small little lockup from your equipment and then your race is over.
Yeah, it's kind of like the real life equivalent of your gearbox dying or something like that. Like, you don't have here, at least in iRacing, you don't have mechanical failures apart from punctures or bodywork damage, or even engine damage. You can damage your engine, but apart from that, it's not really expectable that your gearbox just gives up mid-race. But on the counterpart, you also have your equipment can fail, like you mentioned, like your wheel. Like it happened to me in IFL at the start of the season, the first race. Behind the safety car, I was just warming up my tires, just weaving right to left, and my computer just froze, and I had to come from the pit. So that can happen, and I'd say it's the equivalent of a mechanical failure in the simulator.
Yep, and we see Victor Barris getting a huge tow from Frank Settle there, and he ends up going 2/10 faster than his teammate Tony Jimenez, improving his time at the last moments.
That's how powerful it is, the slipstream.
Yep, and it's such a long front straight. That's the only DRS zone for the F1 cars, just because that's the only really long straight like that on the track. We have some medium-sized straights, but the really long straight that we're going to see here, you see the DRS zone sign. And yeah, it just is immaculately long. So if you can get into that slipstream, you're almost guaranteed a pass. So we're looking at about 7/10 of a second back, maybe even closer to 6/10 of a second back, and you'll be in that slipstream ready to really make a move. And with it being a straightaway that has slight variations, as we see there coming to the left, slight variation to the right at the beginning of it, it really it can throw you for a loop if you have cars side by side.
Yeah, and especially you're going so quick there at the end of the straight, coming into the Tamburello chicane. It's really easy to have something like what happened between Russell and Bottas in F1 last year. Where since the road kind of goes left, it's very easy to just step on the grass and just crash there. Yeah, it's very easy to do there. But to defend actually your position, I think the best is going to the outside of there. Also because of the way the track goes left, you can almost always hold the outside, and then the spot is still yours. So let's see if these drivers know that and how they will defend.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. There's the Ayrton Senna statue. As we saw the little memorial there.
Yeah.
As we wait for our drivers to come out for warm up. And here's the wall.
And I know some drivers were complaining about traffic. I saw Thiago Kriegsmann there. So maybe some drivers still have a bit more pace in them for the actual race.
Yep, definitely could be. I mean, it does get a little crowded sometimes. These corners aren't all nice corners to pass on. The straight's a good spot, but you don't want to be going in 2, 3, 4 cars wide, down the straightaway trying to all throw the elbows out and then get through turn 1 just in qualifying alone. So we'll see how it transfers into the race. The chicane, right off the bat, high speed left and right. I have a feeling we're gonna have some cars bumping each other off the start.
Yeah, but actually for qualifying, I didn't. From the look of the sky, I don't expect the track to warm up a lot. So from the start of the qualifying session to the end, the times were probably not that affected by the track conditions. So I expect these times to be somewhat representative. And obviously, Victor Barris took the time to set his absolute fastest lap, and with the help of that slipstream, even more. So let's see what these DriveX esports drivers do coming into turn 1.
Yep. Yeah, definitely the turn 1's going to be the make it or break it, because that's the closest that everybody's going to be. So we'll see how it all goes. Victor Barris, Antonio Jimenez sitting up on top for DriveX esports. Tieko Krigman taking the 3rd place spot for Turning Point Racing. Jake Potts in 4th for Lumos Motorsports. Frederick Larson sitting in 5th for Orion Racing. James Mollaire, a grid spot behind his teammate Jake in Lumos Motorsports car. Luke Mitchell in 7th. Brandon Walker for Cuda Works in 8th. Julie Redmond for Cuda Works in 9th. Joe Watts in 10th for XRL Esports. Joachim Flodman for Team Banana in 11th. Dominic Herbert I believe Dominic Herbert drives for GTR Racing. Darius Rakauskas for Locals Autosport. Danny O'Keefe for Orion Racing in 14th. We have Anthony Wallace in 15th for Turn 1 Racing. Stuart Gibbons in 16th for Cuda Evo. Patrick Olson in 17th for High Gear Racing. Jackson Carr in 18th, followed by Eli Cannon in 19th for Auriga Motorsports, both of them. We have Vincent Saint in 20th for High Gear Racing. Emmanuel Gerbino, who is a privateer as of right now. We have Hjalmar Ahlberg for Team Banana. Don Satterfield for Turning Point Racing. Arturo Mayorga for privateer as of right now. I think he is Blue Frog Racing. Sean Roberts, Pro Racing Opposition in 25th. Joel Abney in 26th, Mamba Motorsport. And Frank Settle in 27th for Mamba Motorsport. Steve Bunting in 28th for BE Racing. And that will round off our grid.
Yeah, some of these drivers there at the bottom of the grid have a few seconds gap to the guy in front, so they aren't doing too well. Let's see if they can make some spots. But I know one driver that is missing. It's Martinez, Janusz Kauskas. He's missing for this round. I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, let's see if his teammate Darius can get some points for the team.
Yep. Yeah, it's always a tough race when you have to race without your teammate. It just makes it that much harder. Even just having them, on the track with you, going through the same, conditions you are, saying, hey, what are you feeling in turn 1? What are you feeling in turn 5? I mean, even myself in practice yesterday for the F1s, working with my teammate Weston Epps, he was having a hard time with a turn or two, and I was like, hey, try doing this, try doing this other thing, try adjusting like this, and then it ended up, exceedingly helping and gaining tons of time. So just having that teammate out on track is a huge factor. But warm-up is done. We have 6 people that have completed a lap in warm-up, but we are going to check out our grid here once we get people that start jumping on the track. We see 2 Lumos drivers on the right, Team Banana on the right, Lumos on the left. And there is our pole sitter, Victor Barris.
And I cannot be a steward right now. I think he missed something, but we'll see.
We're at 40 seconds right now, waiting for the rest of the grid. And just the intensity going on right now in all these drivers' helmets. Hearts pounding. Here we go. Lights are on. And now we are lights out, and off we go. Wow, we have a lot. Ooh, we have a car that has just stopped on track. Gonna keep an eye here going into turn 1. Everybody so far clean. Some real good side-by-side action. Clean through turn 1 and turn 2. Ooh, one car sliding off. That is Tieco Krigman. That is huge for his race and his fight for the championship. Nobody else going off so far. Stuart Gibbons going off. Ooh, big wreck there. Cars coming back onto the track. That'll probably warrant a yellow. Ooh. Victor Barris trying to run away with it.
Right now. I don't think we can have a yellow right now.
And we continue to race. Side by side. Coming down the hill. Into Aqua Minerale. This is not a good place to go side by side. Wow. These drivers are holding it together.
Yeah, and it seems like Tiago just missing out on a good qualifying from him. He disconnected already, so that's the race done for him. But the teammates Victor and Tony just pulling a big gap now on Jake Potts, so I think that's gonna be a 1-2 for them, very easy. Let's hope that I'm wrong, and then there's some racing here for the win.
Yep, you see Jake Potts is about a second back. Potts was throwing in some real big times in practice. And he, he's going to have to really push it. He's down to, a little bit better than he was at the beginning of the lap, 0.8 of a second. He's going to keep Frederick Larson at bay, and he's going to move up onto Tony Jimenez, almost to within that draft, but not quite. Not quite yet. He'll be.
And you have Victor Barris here, almost a second and a half already on his teammate.
Yep. You almost
so maybe that toe
What?
is not gonna come.
Yep, that toe might not be there. It might be a little bit of planning from the teammates to hold up, the cars behind them. Tony Jimenez keeping them just without, just out of range of the slip, but also keeping a buffer between first and third there.
Yeah, and I expect to see P5 and P6 currently, Brandon Walker and Julie Redmond, working as a team there to bring themselves up the field, kind of like what I was expecting from the Drive XC Sports guys. So Julie Redmond is like within half a second of Brandon Walker, so the slipstream is gonna come on this main straight.
Yep.
Let's see if they can close that 3-second gap to Frederick Larson.
Yep, and we have Frederick Larson here, who's going to be in the tow of Jake Potts, Julie Redmond, Dominic Herbert, Anthony Wallace, Kauskas, Malaire, all down the grid there. They are just right on top of each other here.
Yeah, and Barry's just sets the fastest lap there, as there's a blue flag, I guess. Is that a blue flag?
Yep, that would be a blue flag for Patrick Olson. He was involved in lap 1. He's got to let essentially half the field by coming out of the pits there. That's a rough place to do that, but yep, another couple blue flags here.
And there's a stopped car there. I don't know if he has a problem.
That is Stuart Gibbons. He's trying to get out of the way, but there's just so many cars. He's having a really hard time. Ooh, stopped right in the middle of the turn. That's where you're throwing it in. Olsen maybe having an issue. Oof. Yep, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You knew that was going to happen.
That is going to happen when you have a stalled car on the track.
Yeah.
And that's what we
And Eli Cannon is absolutely mad of that. Like, that's no fault of his own. He's just trying to race on the lead lap, and there's a car just stopped on the track. That's not the correct way to let someone by.
Yep. We have Tony Jimenez, Jake Potts moving in on him, trying to get that gap down, but Victor Barris pulling away up to a 2.6 second gap. Tony Jimenez doing a little bit of just race control here. Frederick Larson 1.2 seconds back. We're going to jump to James Malaire, who is right on the tail of Darius Rakauskas. Coming down the straight, we're going to see a few cars right here in the slip. James Malaire closing the gap. He's the closest.
But there's a big train of slipstream, so Darius also have the slipstream, so the gap wasn't closed that much.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens when the car in front doesn't have any car in front of them.
Yeah,
to
push
that. Out the air there.
You'll see that gap just
as they go
disappear.
side by side here. But James Malaire cannot do it just yet.
Yep, he's going to have to be patient maybe here, trying to go on the inside of the hairpin, but he's going to have a less than ideal exit.
That's going to hurt him towards Piratella here.
Yep, and we're going to jump on board to Julie Redmond here, who is, I don't want to say fighting, but just kind of following her teammate Brandon Walker, sitting 5th and 6th for Kuda Works right now. Julie, great speed. Brandon, great speed. So we'll see if they can work together to try and close that gap up to Frederick Larson.
Yeah, but I think the gap has just opened slightly in the last few laps. So I don't know, if they don't pick up the pace, they're never gonna catch Frederick, or if Frederick doesn't have an incident somewhere, which he doesn't seem to get too often. So if nothing unexpected happens, they're not gonna close that gap just on pure pace. As Victor Barris sets another fastest lap of the race.
Yep,
and the gap is now over 3 seconds. Wow, to Tony Jimenez.
Yep, and you got to think also that might be a little bit of pit strategy as well. Going out with very little fuel, going about 10 laps, and then doing a longer stint on your second set of tires. That could be part of why Victor Barris is so much faster. You could have a third of the fuel that the rest of these drivers do.
Yeah, and at the same time, Tony Jimenez might have a lot more fuel, and they knew, since they were starting on the front row, that he could hold up P3 and just let Victor Barris build up a very good gap. As there's some side-by-side racing here, but I think... Oh, that's a blue flag?
Yep, that's a blue flag. Joseph Cawley letting the leader by. And Tony Jimenez is next in line to get on by, but I think they're going to wait until after the chicane.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to let by, even if you're aware of what's happening. He's just going to take the off track here to let the field by, which is, the correct thing to do.
Yep, yeah, a little off track, not so bad, but we got to, make sure that we don't have incidents like we had before, where it was just a complete stop on track in the middle of the line. So I can only imagine that Patrick Olson had a stall there, and something happened to his car. Jake, just
Also,
within,
you gotta
just
you
within
gotta
reach.
take into account these guys are probably not very experienced. So some of these guys, there's too much information for them to to handle if it's their first couple of races, since this is the entry series. Some of these guys might not have the racing experience to know how to let somebody by with the least amount of hassle possible.
Yep.
So that's another factor that plays in.
Yep, yeah, that's a huge thing. I mean, there's so much information coming at you if you don't know what you're looking at, and especially some of these drivers being brand new. We know that Frank Settle, he is brand new, and Joel Abney, I want to say, are both brand new to not just F3, not just sim racing at all, but iRacing. It's brand new. They're just getting in, and when you have a simulation and there's real information being thrown at you, it can be overwhelming. Ooh, we have a car slipped up there as one of the
Turning Point Racing
Turning
guys.
Point. That is Don Satterfield. Stuart Gibbons going by.
And as we have Eli Cannon saying he's got no throttle at the beginning of the race, loose USB cable. So as we were talking at the start of the race, these are the mechanical failures of sim racing, the equivalent. So another technical failure there.
Yep. And we see Flodman coming up the hill into the chicane. See if Flodman can get a pass done down the straightaway here. We're going to jump to Anthony Wallace, though, because he is going down the straightaway with a double toe. And is he going to be able to make a move happen? Wow. He does.
Oh, nice stand there. And they both made it cleanly through turn 1, which is not very easy to do.
Yep, Dominic Herbert up in the 7th, Anthony Wallace up in the 8th, and they were passing Joseph Cawley, who has a blue flag. And
Big
Cawley
contact
gets
there.
into Darius Rakauskas. Cawley
And he
off
was a
track.
lap car as well. Joseph Cawley. Oh,
Ooh.
that's not a good rejoin.
No, it is not.
So lots of issues there for especially the lapped cars, the blue flag cars. They seem to be making the wrong decisions there today to let everybody by.
Yep, I definitely agree. You gotta, if you're gonna slow down. If you're going to, if you're gonna let somebody by, move off the racing line, let them by, but don't. You gotta be quick, and you gotta not hesitate if you see somebody coming up. The best
Definitely.
way to do
when
it
you're
is,
letting someone by, you cannot make half moves. You need to be as clear as possible to the driver behind. And especially in iRacing, you can directly communicate with other drivers, so you can just say, pass me on the right, or pass me on the main straight, or whatever. You can just communicate.
Yep.
So that's something these drivers can take into account in order to improve their racecraft, because even letting someone by as a blue flag is racecraft, is an important skill to have.
Yep. Yeah, putting in a fast lap is one thing, but knowing how to race with drivers around you, I know iRacing has implemented the AI feature for the F3 cars, even coming for the F1 cars in the new update. It's a huge thing to be able to just drive with cars around you, and then know if the car is coming up behind you that has so much more speed than you, how to let them by. It's almost a separate full-on skill in its own. But we're watching Anthony Wallace right now, and he is trying to do some work on Dominic Herbert, who is up in the 7th. Anthony Wallace up in the 8th. From their
Dominic
start.
Herbert seems to have a good race again. Be having a good race again, the same as last week. Can you bring up the positions gained and lost so we can see?
I was just about to do
five.
so.
Yeah, five positions for him. So that's a great start. And we saw the same thing last week from him. So he seems to be a good driver when it comes to race pace. Maybe his qualifying not so strong, but then it just makes up the spots on the race itself.
Yep, and
the same for Anthony Wallace. He also gained 7 positions, so that's great.
Yep, and we have Arturo Mayorga. And sorry, tongue-tied, but he's up 11 positions. Vitautas Jatsilevicius and he is up 15 spots, which is from 30th up to 15th. That's a huge feat to accomplish.
Yeah.
Sean Roberts doing great, almost in the points there, up 14 spots. So those are our big winners of the day right now. Flodman going down 3 spots. Luke Mitchell down 9. Darius Rakowskis with the incident with Joseph Cawley down another 6. Let's see, Stuart Gibbons down 8. Those are our big losers of the day right now. Eli, having some technical issues at the beginning, he was saying.
And then the lapped car, he crashed on a stopped car on the track. That was the most unfortunate for him. I think the throttle issue was not the biggest problem he had today.
Yeah, when a car is parked in the middle of the racing line, it makes it hard to try and pass or even just drive your normal race, especially when drivers are going so fast. These drivers are coming up on a turn, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh wait, there's a car here.
Yeah, and these cars, they're F3 cars, so if you're used to watching F1 and maybe the 3.5 and everything, these cars you might think they're slow, but these cars also go up to 150 miles an hour sometimes on this track. So as you see, James Muller here making up a place.
We'll pop open our battle box here. Muller back in 11th. He just got a new setup, and he might be having some first race. I don't want to say first race jitters, but maybe a little bit of adjustment to a brand new setup. You get so used to your pedals and your feel and your wheel and how much force it's going to give you, and then all of a sudden it changes, and you're just thrown into essentially what's a new car. So it's almost like having a new car the day of the race. So it's a little bit of a struggle here for him, I think. We normally see him in the top 5, but he's down a bit. He's starting to get used to his new wheel and new car. He's starting to make his way back up to pack.
Yeah, and you're presented with a dilemma in a situation like you want to try your new gear, but at the same time there's a race coming, and if you actually want to do your best, you might actually set up the old stuff for just this one race and then get used to the new stuff during the next week. But you also want to try the new stuff, so I understand him.
Yep.
And maybe he thought it was comfortable enough. Maybe he tried a few days ago when he got it, and he actually thought it was comfortable enough. So let's see. I mean, he lost 5 positions. Let's see if he can make up those positions, and he's gonna prove to himself that the new gear is just settling right in.
Yep, and we have Jake Potts who closes the gap. He finally got into that slipstream and is down to 0.3 of a second. Let's see if he can hold this throughout the track. Right on the rear end there of Tony Jimenez. Ooh, that little bit of extra speed making Jake Potts go a little bit wide. He has to back out.
And I think Larson is just rubbing his hands watching this fight going on.
Yep, yeah, Larson waiting to pick up the pieces when Jimenez and Potts really start fighting. Because if that starts happening, then Frederick Larson's looking to jump and try and do an overtake or a double overtake somewhere.
Yeah, and at the same time, you have Victor Barris there 5 seconds up on his teammate. Yep. He's just setting very consistent laps. He's in the 37.4s, 37.5s every single lap. So he's like within 0.2 every single lap. That's extremely consistent for him. While you have his teammate Tony Jimenez just doing slightly worse laps, more inconsistent. He's on the 37.9s. He's also very consistent. I mean, not inconsistent. 37.9s mostly, but if you're consistently slower than the other drivers, that's how that 5-second gap is created. But I still hope these two guys to see them in Formula One next season maybe, or 2 seasons from now. They certainly have the skills for that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. it'll be interesting to see the drivers that move up in the field, because those drivers that move up might not be top drivers anymore. They might be midfield drivers. So it'll be fun to see drivers that come up from the F2 into the F1, drivers that come up from the F3 into the F2, and just the natural progression there. I think it's going to be a real fun dynamic to watch throughout, from season to season. We've already seen, our winners of season 1 and 2, Lewis Archer and Chris Byram. They are now being faced with, a very strong couple of drivers fighting them and teams that are fighting them. So it's quite a thing to say that, with this league growing and more drivers coming in, it's going to make for a lot of fun, I will say.
Yeah, the F2 Championship is certainly a lot of fun, and I'm guilty because I am participating in it, but just looking from an unbiased position, I think it's certainly very interesting to have like a four-way, well, right now three-way battle for the lead of the championship. While there's already been 4 races.
Yep.
And then you have a few drivers coming to join, like you mentioned, Lewis Archer, the previous champion, coming to join the race.
Yep, and here
He's
we go.
1 race down.
Jake Potts has the outside. Let's see if he can make anything stick here. He'll have the inside on turn 2. He just drops back, thinks better of trying to send it there, but we saw Jimenez get his first off track in that sequence, so that might have played a little bit of a factor. Jimenez, might be looking in his mirror a bit, saying, Jake Potts isn't going to go away quietly. Frederick Larson, only 1.2 seconds back from him. This is going to be a fun battle to watch and to see it develop.
Yeah, and you can see what that means to the times. Look at that. The gap was 5 seconds. It's now almost 7 seconds there. So, you lose a lot of time just fighting there, but Tony Jimenez needs to do that. That's probably the trick. They're holding up P3 for Victor Barris to get a clean drive to the end.
Yep, and
That's
see Frederick Larson is closing the gap quite a bit, too. We have a couple lap cars here coming up. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, and coming to the lap cars, I mean, it's up to the driver making the move to make it as cleanly as possible, but especially on lap cars, you also need to be as predictable as possible. And in this case, if I was the lap car, I would just let both of them by, even if that meant losing 3 or 4 seconds on my race.
Yeah,
as
one going,
it seems like they did. Yeah,
one going out of the way there.
That's the correct thing to do.
Jake Potts right up on the bumper of Tony Jimenez. Will he be able to make the pass work this time? Jimenez blocking on the inside, just taking that inside lane, and Jake Potts is ahead just by a hair. And they are side by side. Potts, and he just touches Jimenez. Just a little bit of it, almost looked like netcode. Might have had a little contact. Frederick Larson right behind Potts, though. Potts is wondering if he has damage for sure, because that's a that's a fragile car that they're driving there. He might have some front wing damage, but now Potts goes from attacking to defending in just a couple moments.
Yeah, possibly with a slightly damaged car. I don't see any damage on his car, but possibly from that contact there's some damage. So let's see what the pace looks like now.
Yep. Yeah, and we're gonna keep watching, seeing if Frederick Larson can make a move down the straight. He's definitely within striking distance here, only 0.4 of a second back from Potts. Makes that 0.2 of a second. He might make it work right now going down into the final chicane. Larson thinking better of it. He's gonna, he knows the place to pass is and Jake Potts gets his first off track there. He knows the place to pass is going down the straightaway, and Jake, he might be fighting some of that damage. Jake on the inside. Frederick Larson does the old switch. Kind of pushes Jake a little bit wide there.
Potts.
Yeah, he's just gone a tiny bit wide. Jake, I could probably see coming into the pits now and assessing any damages that he has, but he continues on.
I don't think he has any damage. That was just the pressure of suddenly having to defend, and these drivers don't know if they have any damage. The car might be slightly damaged, so there's a little bit of braking that might change. So if you're braking on the same place and the car is slightly off, it might happen what just happened to Jake Potts. He locks up and loses the position to Frederick Larson, who is now up to P2, but 10 seconds back from P1.
Yep, yeah, these drivers, Jake Potts is now closing the gap on Frederick Larson. But we have Vincent Saint here, who is pushing up behind Joel Abney, who is in 13th. I think this is one of the better positions Joel Abney's been in. And Joel has...
Settle just DNF, probably. Big crash there into the hairpin. I think that's the race for him.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, he's out.
So Joel Abney's going to be trying everything he can to get into the points for his team. You know, Tony Amena is back down into 11th right now. Looks like he has done his pit stop. But, you know, some of these drivers, if the front guys are fighting, you know, James Molaire within a second, Julie Redmond, 2.5, Jake Potts, 2 and 3/10. They're, you know, going to be fighting. Vincent Saint can jump up into a position. Joel Abney can jump up into a position with points. So, you know, it's not over for these guys down in 13, 14, 15. They can keep fighting. We see
Vincent Saint just making a clean move into turn 1.
Yep, yeah, and Joel Abney backs out a little bit, gives him the space to do so. Once again, you can see the difference in drivers, and you know the experience. Jake Potts, one of our more experienced drivers. You know, Joel Abney letting by.
A spin from Vincent Saint.
Yep,
no.
And that was Victor Barris that almost got into him, our race leader. That would have been devastating. We have Vincent Saint trying to get going on track, and we have drivers fighting in Emmanuel Gerbino and Frederick Larson, who's in second, which means Jake Potts is right here too. We have some sliding around on the track right now, which is...
Yeah, I think the tires, you know, it's the halfway point, so some of the drivers might have abused the tires a little bit, so they're just starting to go, and we might see the first round of pits right now.
Yep, yeah, and we have Darius Rakauskas coming up behind Vincent Saint. Rakauskas, you know, not so great of a race. He's normally up a little higher, closer to the top 10. And he is going to try and push right up behind there. See what he can do down the straightaway. Has a little bit better of an entrance than Saint. Wow, just it's a traffic jam out there almost. Look at all these cars down the straightaway here, and you know, some are 1 lap down, some are 2 laps down, some are on the main lap, some are fighting for position, some aren't. It's just kind of chaos right now out there.
And there's some drivers complaining to the stewards about a particular driver, Joseph Colley. I saw someone complain that it was just a nuisance. You know, maybe sometimes you have a hard time giving up positions when you're a few laps down, and especially like the frustration if they've had a few incidents that can cloud your decisions, and maybe these drivers are not making the best decisions. But Joseph Colley is now in the pits. Maybe there was some damage to his car, and that's why he was being a nuisance.
Yep, yeah, I mean, these drivers get one fast repair, and that fast repair can make or break, you know, a race. And if he's already used his, which I believe he has, already used his fast repair, then it makes for a bad rest of the race when you have some damage. We have drivers right now, like I said, kind of driving in a parking lot worth of cars here.
Yeah, that's the point of the race where, you know, there's blue flags for you and they're racing each other as well, so they're not wanting to give their position. Yeah, it's a very tricky situation. And as we see here, Julie Redmond actually glued to her teammate's car, as we thought would happen. So maybe now we can see them working to get into the podium. And as we see the podium just pitting, except for Victor Barris there. So Larson and Jake Potts just pitting there. Let's see who gets out in front.
We have Jake Potts right in front there of Larson.
both of them taking tires, and it's gonna be very tight there on the
Jake
exit.
Potts takes it.
Oh,
Barely. He's going to barely take that. And out he comes with Frederick Larson right on his tail. Wow.
oh, that's probably a first, right, in IFL, an overtake on the pits. Certainly very unusual there.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not often that you have you know, one driver that just pits, you know, that much better than the other driver. It's great to see, you know, but at the same time you think maybe, you know, did he come in too hot? Did he, you know? Oh, and on cold tires,
no!
Jake
Cold
Potts
tires
slides
there.
off, but Frederick Larson has to slow down as well.
And Danny O'Keefe just passed him, but Danny still has to stop. So Frederick Larson is up into P2 again, net P2 after they stop.
Let's take a look around his car here. Doesn't look like there's any damage.
No. That's unfortunate for Jake Potts there. The cold tires just, you know, makes a big difference.
Yep, and let's take a look at Jake Potts and see if he has any damage here. Nothing on the back end. I'm not sure if he made contact with that wall. Let's see. Just coming into the hairpin here. And he just, yep, just too much. Frederick Larson just avoiding him. Taps the back. It doesn't look like he's got any damage, but there could be some framework that that needs some tending to.
Yeah, but certainly, you know, he lost some valuable seconds there on the spin.
Yep, so
that's not what he wants.
Yep, that's going to bring Brandon Walker and Julie Redmond into the picture once they have done their pit. James Molaire also pushing up, you know, 20 seconds behind Brandon Walker, but I believe he has already done his pit. Let's bring up our pit graphic and see. So James Molaire has not pit yet. The only one that has pit is Frederick Larson, Jake Potts, Tony Jimenez on lap 14. So the guys that are fighting for second place are having quite the unfortunate race.
Yeah, and as we see, Brandon Walker just being left by I think it was Victor Sant, not in the best place once again. Yeah, you know, it's a very tricky part of the race with the blue flags and everyone just racing each other.
Yeah. I mean, because you have Vincent Saint who's trying to fend off Darius Rakauskas, while at the same time having, you know, other cars
having to lap by the lead lap car.
Yep. So these four are actually fighting right now. We have Rakauskas 14th, Saint 15th, Gerbino 16th. Side by side
Vincent
there.
Just gets a horrible exit, Vincent Saint.
Yep, Vincent Saint now into 16th, and then we have Luke Mitchell in 17th. So this is a four-way battle right now.
So you have James Molaire and Danny O'Keefe just stopping, and Sean Roberts as well. And only the top three now have to stop still.
Yep, Victor Barris, Julie Redmond, Brandon Walker. And Julie and Brandon maybe trying to, I mean, we can see the traffic jam that we have, 12 laps left. They might be trying to just get as much clean racing as they can before they're, you know, set into a spot where they have to pit, and then, well, they're right back behind that lap traffic again.
Yeah, sometimes it might be worth, during your practice sessions to... Oh, they're really squirming.
Little lock up there.
These guys don't give me time to make, you know, to make other comments. It's just all about the race, especially in this part of the race.
Yep, and I mean
it's really close.
They're all over the back of each other here. We also have up ahead just a little bit, side by side, Flodman and Wallace. Flodman making a move. Ooh, making it stick there. Anthony Wallace isn't going to like it, and he's going to come back down the short straightaway here. Let's see if these guys can keep it clean. Ooh, a little curb there.
Very
Anthony Wallace
close
gonna take advantage of that. Anthony Wallace now has the advantage going around the outside. He'll have more speed going up the hill. Floodman holds it
Still
tight
side
on
by
the
side.
inside. Still side by side. Great battle here from these two drivers. Whoa, now we go down the hill into Aqua Minerale. This is really a spot you don't want to be too wide. Let's see if one of these drivers concedes, and Floodman does, thinks better of it, but he's going to get more speed out of the turn here. And be right behind Anthony Wallace. Great battle from these drivers, keeping it clean here. This is right at that spot. You know, these drivers really are starting to get comfortable with their cars. You know, being in that right at the end of the points positions here. So Anthony Wallace, one of our veteran drivers, Floodman, new to the series this season, but both keeping it really clean and driving around each other like they've been doing it for years.
Oh, look at those brakes, just burning red hot.
Yep.
Coming down to the end of the lap.
Yep, and we have Floodman, who's, you know, a 10th back. He's just holding the rear end there of Anthony Wallace. The hard thing about this straight is it's so long. By the time you get out of the slipstream and try and make a pass, you know, that other car can almost get into the slipstream like Anthony Wallace does and try and get a little bit of speed themselves.
Yeah, but I think now Floodman is keeping that spot at least for a few laps, up until the main straight at least, where Wallace will get the slipstream again if he can keep that gap. He's already a second back, so he got a bad exit there. Let's see if he can make it up into the slipstream again.
Yep, Wallace now sitting at 0.9 seconds back, almost a full second. You know, maybe he's thinking better of, you know, keeping right on him. How long can that last, going side by side, you know? But we have a couple drivers right now, Tony Jimenez and Brandon Walker, catching up behind Jake Potts, who's sitting in fourth. Julie Redmond, who has pit on lap 20. She's out in third. Jake Potts in fourth. Brandon Walker in fifth. Tony Jimenez in sixth. And they are going to be the ones to watch right now.
So all of those drivers stopping now. And that spin costing Jake Potts a few spots there. He was right behind Larson, and now he's 3 seconds back, and he still has Julie Redmond in the way.
Yep, and Brandon Walker was swerving back and forth there, maybe to try and get his tires warmed up, because he has a hungry Tony Jimenez right behind him, who has, and there goes Brandon Walker.
That's a tricky corner, yeah.
Yep, especially on cold tires. This is his first lap on these tires, and that hence those swerves. He was trying to get those tires up to temperature and get them moving. He is having a hard time. One tire caved in, just kind of along for the ride. No front wing. Let's see if he can hold it there. He does. He's probably going to make it back to the pits, but the real story right now is Jake Potts on Julie Redmond. He's catching up to her, and right behind him is Tony Jimenez, who is hungry. He wants to catch up to Jake Potts and really try and take that position back that was kind of stolen from him from Potts a little earlier in the race. Potts, just having a slight touch in turn one going into turn two.
Yeah, and but Brandon Walker there, that's a tricky corner. I spun myself there a few times. There's a bump there just at the top of the left-hander out of Aqua Minerale, and if you get a little too happy on the throttle, the car just does that. You're gone.
Yep. Yeah, the downforce can't keep the car on the track for a bump that large coming up. We'll try and see if we can't catch it in the stream here. Let's go to one of our cameras here. Jake Potts. Let's see if we can't catch the bump. It's actually right coming out right about here. You see, that little jump that he does. And
right before the asphalt changes color, there's a big bump there, and the car just goes in the air, and if you're too much on the throttle, it just the car just goes. As you see, Jake Potts here taking the curbs beautifully. I think he actually made up a little bit of time there compared to a lap where he wouldn't take the curbs. So it's risky, but the reward is more than enough.
Yep, and he has a Not as great of an exit as Julie Redmond, but he's in that slipstream. Let's see what he does here. He's got a lot.
Yeah, my bet here is for Jake
front
Potts
straight
to take the position.
He's got a lot of straight left, so he's going to go. Julie's not going to try and defend him there. She's going to keep the inside line. Jake has the advantage, but they are side by side. Ooh, Jake pulls out of the attack there, maybe because of what happened earlier with Jimenez. Now Jimenez within striking distance, 0.8 seconds, 0.9 seconds back from Jake Potts, and Jimenez is just going to sit there and say, hey, these guys are fighting in front of me. I'm going to take advantage of it. He might try and make a pass at the same time that Potts does. Having a double slipstream down the straight, though, that just makes that slipstream just that much powerful.
Maybe we can see a 3 wide going into turn 1. Let's hope they all make it safe through there.
Yep, and Jake Potts, ooh, big jump on Julie Redmond for some reason.
Julie's just got a bad exit out of Piratella. So.
Oh, and Julie.
Oh, there's contact.
Yep, Julie just touching Jake Potts. And Jake Potts now is going to have to fend off both these drivers. Jimenez, Redmond, both within slipstream, and they're going to go into turn 1. Like you said, we could have a 3 wide here. Great exit here from the back driver, Redmond. She's already gaining time. Jimenez already gaining time. Jimenez now finally closing that gap down a little bit, coming towards the end. Jake Potts leaves the inside open. Jimenez, maybe from the previous encounter, backs up a little bit, tries to reset and say, hey, I'll get him this next lap, but he's got to keep in mind that Julie Redmond is right on his tail.
Yeah, I don't see any damage on Julie Redmond's car, but from her pace, I think, Jimenez has got massive pace to take both these drivers and run away with P3. So my bet is on a fight for P4 between Julie Redmond and Jake Potts there. Let's see if I'm right at the end of the race. There's 7 laps to go. I think that should be enough for Jimenez to take P3 here. Maybe we can see a fight for P4 with Potts and Redmond.
Yeah, right now Redmond backing up a little bit. She might be anticipating a pass from Jimenez on Potts and may not want to be anywhere near it when it happens. Jimenez dropping back a tiny bit.
Incredible.
Yep, yeah, and this is in the F3 cars. The F2 cars yesterday, we saw some huge gains being had down the straightaways and in the slipstream, and the F1s later today we'll really see it put to the test with the DRS enabled on those cars. And Jimenez, 0.5, almost 0.6 of a second back. He might not be able to close the gap fast enough to make a turn or make it into turn 1 side by side. He's still in that slip, still following it. But, yep, still a little farther back. Potts getting through the turn.
And Redmond just spun there into turn 1. She just lost the position there. So there's going the fight between her and Jake Potts there. So now she's just thinking about holding that P5 to the end. There's no one in front or behind, so I think that's the most she can aim for at this point.
Yeah, 7 seconds up from where she's at, 15 seconds back from where she's at. And that is where the rest of the field will lie for the moment. Tony Jimenez really pushing up. He wants that P3. Frederick Larson 18 seconds back from Victor Barris. Victor Barris just putting on a clinic.
Yeah, and Jimenez has been having trouble with keeping the gap, especially through the third sector here, through the final couple corners and Aqua Minerale as well. So, he's 6/10 again, maybe 7/10 coming into the main straight, and then he just cannot close the gap, so he's been having issues with following in dirt here.
Yep, let's see. 6/10. Yep, he drops back quite a bit coming into that last sector, like you're saying.
Yeah, it's just barely closing. Like the farther away you are, even if it's just a tenth, the weaker the slipstream is, and now you can notice the difference. Like previous lap it was 4 tenths back, now it's 7 tenths back after the main straight. So, it's just slightly losing the grip on Jake Potts. Maybe I was wrong about Jimenez's pace.
Yep, yeah, and I mean, you can see him. He's right there. He's almost can reach out and grab him here on the screen. I mean, Jimenez is not going away by any means, but Jake Potts doing
Jimenez got a
good
very
job.
strong first sector, but then on the third sector he'll lose 2 or 3 tenths there.
Yeah, but that could just be car setup differences. Jake Potts might be running a little bit lower of a downforce. He might be running a little bit higher of a downforce than Jimenez, so he has a little bit better chance of getting a good exit out of Aqua Minerale going into the last chicane. Well, we'll see what Jimenez does here. It could even just be that Jimenez is biding his time, waiting for a good opportunity. But you see Potts in that last chicane, he gains 2 tenths of a second almost on Jimenez.
Yeah, it's the curbs. It's the curbs, as I said, man. He's just risking taking the curbs, and it's very risky. You can just spin very easily there, but it's just risking for that final podium position. You can see how much it means to him.
Yep, and they'll be coming down the... Ooh, Jake coming into the pits.
Oh, that's...
Why?
Maybe he's out of fuel, or...
Could be out of fuel.
It doesn't have enough fuel to the end.
Could be a black flag as well for taking too many of those curbs like we were talking. Yeah, it's a drive-through, so I'm guessing he had a black flag.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Let's see. We'll go to our off-track graphic here. And Jake Potts is up to 5 off tracks, but if he had some contact with other cars, I mean, he could be up to a 16x.
Yeah, he really did get a black flag. I just confirmed it. Yeah, that's unfortunate for him.
Yep, that's really unfortunate. That's a tough one to swallow. You're fighting for a podium, and now you're fighting for 5th place. You have Dominic Herbert behind you 4 seconds, and Julie Redmond ahead of you 9 seconds. You just got to get stuck in right now and try and make the most of what you have. And we see Danny O'Keefe on our graphic here just went by James Mollaire,
who also got a black flag.
Right,
he also
Mollaire
had a black flag.
like he got a black flag. Yeah, that's just some craziness today. The black flags, like we said, the incidents are going to play a huge factor in this.
Yeah. And am I wrong, or is Victor Barris completely clean of off tracks? He's got 0 incidents.
Yeah, he is. He's completely clean of off tracks as of right now. He should get the extra point for safety,
and also for fastest lap.
Yep, and fastest lap as of right now. We can check in on that too. Let's look and see best lap times, and yep, he's on top with a 137.104. Some other drivers getting fairly close. 137.5 from Jake Potts, 37.5 from Jimenez, 37.5 from Larson. They're all right on top of each other. Julie with a 37.8, just showing how consistency can, get you up even past the faster lapped guys. But some great driving here from Barris to not have the incidents. I mean, even his teammate having 5x, Frederick Larson having 6 off tracks. It really plays into it.
But Victor Barris was clean off the start, and he had a big gap, so there's no need for him to risk and push the limits of the track. He's just cruising to the end, and that you see that's not an off track. That's just him pushing as much as comfortable as he can, knowing he won't get an off track or spin the car. So that's how important it is to build a gap, and 20 seconds is no mean feat there.
Yep, it is. It's rough to build a 20-second gap to the next person behind you. It's a tough thing to try and do. And, we have Brandon Walker making a pass here. He's on the inside here of Sean Roberts. He thinks better of trying to keep on the inside, but he's got a pretty good run here going down the mid-straight. He'll probably want to wait until the home stretch, or possibly wait until the last chicane, maybe try and get him in that. So he has such a better exit here. coming out of Aqua Minerale. We'll see how the exit goes there. But he is right up behind him. This is for the last point. This is, this is for points.
Yeah, Brandon Walker just trying to salvage something for as he tries to get a peek there around the outside, but no can do out there. It's very tricky.
Yep, maybe.
And he's just trying to get some points there after, what happened to him. He's lucky to even be in the run for points after such a big crash.
Yep, yeah, losing a wheel, normally you're almost out of the points and out of the race, and he has found a way to come back. Great job by Brandon Walker here. Let's see how he does down the straightaway. We have James Moller. We're going to jump to the front. And he's making a move here on Danny O'Keefe. Ooh, Moller just outbrakes himself. And we're going to have Walker and Sean Roberts coming now. But yeah, some blocking there from O'Keefe. A little bit of left, a little bit of right. Yeah, he was
complaining on the radio. Moller was complaining. Danny O'Keefe moved more than once on the braking.
Yep. Yeah, this is, just plays into the experience of the F3 drivers is a little bit on the greener side. So,
yeah.
Some of these drivers might not know that, you should only move once when you're trying to make a block, and it should be, within a, proper amount of time to give the car behind you, a chance to not crash into the back of you. And like clipping and hitting on the sidewalls of the tires, like that's something that you'll get more with time, and the more it happens, the more you'll avoid it.
Yeah, but just reviewing the incident, it wasn't that much of a moving twice. Danny O'Keefe just drifted off to the right and then came back to the inside. That was his only move. And then either way, James Moller just spun on his own, trying to make the pass. Maybe he had his bias too much to the rear and lock up the rear axle. And, that's just, you cannot catch the car here.
Yep, and Brandon Walker going a little bit wide there. He is going to get an incident point for that for sure. But Roberts coming right up behind him, 0.4 of a second, jumping down to back up to a half second here. But Roberts kind of like Tony Jimenez, having a little bit of a hard time there with the exit and going through sector 3, that last sector there. Roberts is almost dropping out of the slipstream of Brandon Walker. But right now, I do want to jump to a driver that has been just dominating in the positions gained. He has Jake Potts behind him. Jake Potts, we know, had a little bit of a slip up there at one point, and had a little bit of a wreck drive through. So he is, struggling a bit. But Dominic Herbert has been, fairly clean, fairly flawless. He's not been the fastest guy on the grid, but he has been consistent. He is now. Let's go to our gains here. Dominic Herbert up 7 positions. So he started in 12th. He's up into 5th. Top 5 would be great for him and his team. Potts trying to make a little something of it here, trying to get him out of that top 5, because Potts, with the race he has been going through, I'm sure he wants to get the most out of this race and get a top 5 just to make himself feel a little bit better after today.
Yeah, he really needs that. But, Victor Barris here just, pole position, barely pole position, but still pole position. Runs away with a very big gap right off the start. Leads every lap. 20-second gap after the end there. Just how much more can you ask there? Yep. Look at him just weaving there on the line.
Yep, he is ecstatic. Another win here for Victor Barris. Super happy with his performance. We'll jump to second place, Frederick Larson, who is coming out of the final turn here.
Great performance by Larson as well, with gaining 3 positions. Also a bit of luck that Jake Potts spun there, but that's down to skill. Jake Potts spun, but Frederick didn't, so he got the better of it. still 18 seconds off of Victor Barris, but you know, Victor Barris is on a different league there. I think he's gonna run away with the championship with a few races to go.
Yep, he is definitely out front in championship points, and we are going to see Potts does get the better of Herbert and jumps into 5th on the last lap there. Wow. Let's go back and watch this finish here by Jake Potts and Dominic Herbert, because it was a last second. Herbert going a little bit wide, gets into the slipstream, but he finished 8/100ths off. Yeah, Herbert just having a bad last corner there, and just trying to get by him. Just a little too late. Wow, that's a great finish.
That's great
there.
Racing to the line. Even that's just shows you how close the racing here is on the F3.
Yep, 8/100ths of a second between 5th and 6th. Victor Barris definitely taking home, the podium here, the win. Frederick Larson and Tony Jimenez on the podium. Larson with a great clean race, only having a little bit of the one incident with Potts when he had spun out, but great race overall from all these drivers.
Yeah.
But we are going to go ahead and try and pull our drivers in here for an interview for a top 3. Driver of the day, what do you think?
I mean, it's hard to take it away from Barris, even though he wasn't fighting anyone. He just ran the cleanest race possible. And I mean, it's not because you didn't fight anyone that you didn't drive well. I think it's exactly the opposite. I mean, he was able to just pull the big gap, and also helped a bit by P2 and P3 just fighting each other and losing time, but nothing to take away from Barris there. I think he did a great race, put it on pole, did the fastest lap, led every lap, and a 20-second gap there at the end. That's just massive for him.
Yep, yeah, that's huge. He's really showing that he really needs to be up in the higher leagues. He is putting on a show. Let's see if we can't find Frederick Larson. I don't see any of the drivers. The only one that I do see is Frederick Larson now waiting in our broadcast booth. We'll bring.
They're just celebrating the race, the head.
Yep, they're on the podium right now with that champagne. But Frederick Larson, our second place for today on the podium. Frederick, how's it feel?
It feels great. All the other races I finished like P4 and P5, and now I finally get on the podium.
Yep, it's no small feat, especially with the drivers that you're racing against. Victor Barris, super clean today, and the rest of the field, was really pushing each other. A lot of fights going on. There was the fight with Jake Potts for a little bit, fighting with Tony Jimenez. Just didn't seem to stop throughout the whole race. What was going through your head in each one of those battles?
I mean, I just thought, Jake Potts, he was quicker than me. I know that. And also Antonio in the beginning. So I was actually quite lucky that I got P2, I think. But I would like to shout out Julia Redmond, because I think she held them up a bit after she came out of the pits. So that was really great.
Well, you hear that, Julie? Shout out to you for helping out with Frederick Larson here. But yeah, it was such an interesting race. There was a lot of traffic on the track. It seemed a lot of lapped cars. What, were you nervous when passing any of these cars?
Yeah, I was always nervous. Also, when they were battling in front, then I knew that I had to be a lot more careful. And I also think at one time they crashed just in front of me, and then I actually lost a lot of time by that. But yeah, thankfully I didn't hit anyone.
Yep, yeah, it was a little bit of a chippy race. We had some big incidents, just that slide off track, but re-entries were a huge thing today. But today, phenomenal race here. What are you going to do going into, I believe we're in Hungary next after the off week. What are you going to do to plan for that?
I'm gonna have to practice a lot more because I've never driven on that track before, so it's gonna be a challenge.
Yep, yeah, new track to iRacing. So not all of our drivers have gotten out onto Hungaroring yet. So it'll be interesting to see who has and who hasn't. Frederick hasn't yet, so we'll see. We'll see how you do. Any shout outs you want to give before we get off the podium here with you?
Yeah, my team, they are amazing. Danny is amazing. And Julia Redmond, I felt like she was on my team today as well, so also to her.
Awesome. Well, congrats again on the second place. We hope to see you up here in the podiums again and do an interview maybe next week with you.
Yeah, I hope that too.
All right, Frederick. We're going to bring in, we don't have Tony Jimenez, but we do have Victor Barris right now. Victor, how's it going? Do you got me there?
Yes, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yep, we got you up in the booth. Great race. It was spectacular to see you just, you essentially ran away with it. You got pole. Quite a lap that you set for pole as well. And then just nobody else could seem to really catch up to you today.
Yeah, that's right. I'm quite a bit surprised. Also, the previous two races, especially the first one, it was quite a close racing with James, and yeah, here I felt a little bit nervous at the beginning because I didn't practice as I would have liked to. It was quite uncertain how my pace was going to be compared to the others, but in the end it worked out. The pace was there. I felt very comfortable just straight out of the box with the setup. I had a couple of tens also in the pocket, so I felt safe. I was a little bit stressed in some lapping situations, but apart from that, yeah, I mean, super happy.
Yeah, we had seen it was on the stream here. You had kind of dodged a bullet, so to say. I think it was with Vincent Saint. He was fighting and had slid out of the hairpin, and you had to do some evasive maneuvers to avoid him. Small little heart attacks there. I'm sure with lap traffic today, it was really bad today. There was just a lot of lap traffic and a lot of blue flags being thrown, and drivers were just having to get out of the way left and right.
Yeah, it's not an easy track for lapping. It's quite narrow at some points. You never know where's the better place to lift off and let the others go by. But yeah, as you said, I had a little bit of brown pants moment in the hairpin. I had even to brake a little. Of course, I had a little bit of a gap behind, so in this regard, I didn't have to race that much. But yeah, when you are unlucky, today maybe I've been lucky, other days I will be unlucky with the lap cars, and probably I will have a crash, who knows. But let's hope that luck is with me the next races.
Yep, yeah, we are going to be hitting Hungary, going to Hungaroring after we have a week off, and then we'll be back. But what are you planning on for Hungaroring?
Actually, Hungaroring, I think this week it's been the official races. Actually, I didn't practice any lap in the official races, but I will just after this race, I will run some laps. And we will see. Depends how I feel, how my pace. If the setup is good, straight away, then it will be easier week.
All right. Well, congrats again on the win. Great job. Like I said, you really ran away with it today. So, great job to you and your teammate Tony Jimenez, both getting podiums. We're going to talk to him here in just a second. So, any shout-outs that you want to do before we let you go?
Just thank you all guys for the organization and the broadcasting also, and and my team, especially my teammate. He has been training, and his input has been very valuable, and his race, I think, has been spectacular, but he will say.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Well, bye, Victor Barris. Great job. We'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
All right. Our last interview here is with our third place finish on the podium, Tony Jimenez. Tony, do we got you?
Hello.
See you up here again on the podium. That was a tight race. There was a lot of battling, a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind for that race? Just tons of traffic, some incidents going on. What do you think about it?
Well, first of all, thank you for the organization and the work of the broadcast. Are you giving visibility to the league and on the team for giving me the opportunity to represent them in the league? Well, the race, against Victor is complicated. It is very fast, and you have already seen it. We got off the good start. Jackpot was faster than me, or at last he wasn't making mistakes like the ones I was making, and I was able to save 2 or 3 overtakes, but from him. But in the end, we maybe have touched each other, maybe for net code. I don't know. I have the front wing touched, and we had to change the strategy for waiting for all. And I got to him again, but maybe the pressure of the racing made him do too many off tracks. This track is very easy to do, and I was only two away from the penalty.
Yep. Yeah. This track, they changed the off tracks to be a little bit more strict. So we saw Jake Potts go into the pits for a drive through. His teammate too, James Molaire, into the pits for a drive through. A few other drivers throughout the grid. And Jake had also right after his pit stop, he had spun out in the hairpin on cold tires. So he had a little bit of a slight off track there and had to get going again. So just a few things that pushed him back. But those battles that you had with him, same with Frederick Larson, Julie Redmond, just these drivers that were all around you today. Some great racing, some clean racing too. We saw the incident with Jake was actually, it looked like netcode. But yeah, it was, just that tight kind of racing to where you guys were inches away from each other.
Well, Frederick Larson has to do a very good race. The second place for me was really difficult to archive, especially with the lapped cars. That they don't let themselves pass and the bitter areas, and they have given us an occasional scare, bro pants like Victor has said.
Yep, yeah, there was a lot of lap traffic that they had a hard time letting other drivers by. It's something that some drivers can work on in the practice for the week sessions, and a lot of drivers are new to the league and new to the car, new to road racing in general. So just getting some more practice, some more time, some more racecraft in will definitely help those drivers out. But as the season goes on, we'll see those drivers getting a little bit better. But a
pity for Diego. That's a great third place in the quali, but I don't know what happened to him. The first time he was behind me, but I don't know what happened there.
Yep, he according to our chat here on the stream, Tieko's screen went out after T1. We also had Eli Cannon. His throttle was not working because he had a USB cable that was a little loose. So we had a couple drivers that just, I think Eli was not moving off the start. Tieko went off after T1, and just that his race is essentially over at that point. Some unfortunate moments for some of these drivers. And Tieko, like you said, was really fast today. It would have been nice to see him up in the mix with yourself, Larson, Redmond, Potts. It would have just added one more car to the competition.
Well, thank you very much for everything. Very good race today, and see you next one.
Yep, yeah, we hope to see you again in the interviews. Thanks for doing this with us, Tony. Carlos, do you have anything to add to the stream today?
Well, nothing that I haven't said already. Is a great battle there in the series. As much as I like the F2, it seems like the F3 is also has a lot of close racing. And yeah, let's see. Let's jump right into the F1 in a few hours, or not even an hour. I think practice is just about to start.
Yep.
Yeah, I just hope that IFL has 3 great racing series, as it seems to be.
Yep. Yeah, we have the F1 starting over on ESPN or Sim Racing Media, whichever way you get to their YouTube channel. They will be starting in just about an hour. Practice opens up in 13 minutes, qualifying in an hour and 13 minutes, so check them out for sure. Thank you to our sponsors, Designs Ltd, Butt Kicker, Majors Garage, SRM, some great sponsors here that we got going on. So shout out to all of them. Shout out to our admin team, our stewarding team, and of course to you, Carlos. Thank you for helping out with these streams here, and everybody else that really makes this thing happen. But we will see you all again. Off week next week, but we are back in Hungary in 2 weeks' time. We hope to see you all there.
See you.